Hi, it's Phil here from Irish Board Gamer, and today I want to talk about flags. Yeah, exciting stuff. In particular, I'm going to talk about flags for the Black Seas ships, which come on these sheets, but also just general about the different types of flags that ships can fly. Now, I'm not a historian. I am not a naval historian. I am a naval engineer, 30 years service, and so what I'm talking about, and you can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, is about my experience with flags and the way they are in modern day. Okay. The one thing about navies is there's very little standardization across different countries. There's more so in armies now, but certainly not navies. We all do our own thing, and that's obviously historical. So what was true for 200 years ago isn't necessarily true for today, and what is true for one navy isn't exactly true for another one. So forgive me if I get something wrong or whatever. So what we're going to talk about first of all, though, is fitting flags on these ships. This one ship isn't fully rigged. I haven't got the rat lines and that on it. But there are three flags in general we're going to be fitting. We're going to be fitting a flag on the bowsprit area. We're going to be fitting a flag down aft, stern here, and we're going to be fitting a specific type of flag called a pennant up here on the highest point. Now, one of the ways of doing this is obviously if you're going to do that, you're going to need a line from the gaff to this yard arm here, to the spar. So from the gaff to the spar. I obviously don't have one on this, and there's a reason for that. Now, sometimes, and what I had been doing in the past was I was running these lines first and then trying to attach the flags around it, and that gets messy. The problem is the rigging can get pulled and you end up with it not looking great. So I have changed that approach slightly, and what I now do is I cut the flags out and I put a bit of, if I have a bit of rigging line that's left, because you end up with loads of these little bits that are left to one side as you're cutting them, I now make the flag and then attach the rigging to it. So that's the way my approach now. Now the flags obviously are double-sided, not double-sided, they're a single piece of paper that are mirrored, so you have to cut them out and you have to fold them in half, and then you need to glue them. You have two choices, or I think you have two choices of glue, and one of them is PVA, if you have nothing else, craft glue, whatever you want to call it. PVA, up €2. It's quite cheap stuff. Or the other one that you can use is probably a little bit better, is Brit Stick, or a similar brand of stick glue. What you don't want to use is super glue or CA glue, because the problem with that is once it goes hard, or once it dries, goes off, it goes ridiculously hard. So the first thing we need to do is obviously cut the flags out. And the most important thing I find for this is you go for, if you have a guillotine, it's great. If you don't, just be careful with the scissors. I don't mean that you cut yourself. I mean be careful that you don't get the wrong bit of the flag. So we're taking out this Ensign flag here, and I'm just going to do this, and then we'll talk about the flags. So the most important cut, I believe, is the two ends here, because I'll just get rid of this, not get rid of, just put to one side, that jack. So the next thing is and the reason why I was saying get the ends are the most important ones, is if we get them right, we fold this over. Just look at that, both sides of it. It's quite finicky. There is a bit of room for error here in this. Okay, that should be okay. A little crease there. I'm going to come back and try and get as much of the white without taking too much of the red, or ideally any of the red. You can do this, of course, with a skill knife as well, if you prefer, with a rule on this cutting mat. Now, no matter how good you do this, when you fold it back over, there is always going to be a bit of white left showing, and that's because obviously the paper is there, and you've got the edge, you've cut the edge of the paper. So once we do get this to some way that we're happy, we'll Pritt stick it, we'll put it over, and just be careful of the Spanish flag, because there is hard to see, but there is an upside down way you can get this. So I don't know if that will focus in there. I'll try and manually focus this. You can see the top, it's out of focus, but you can see there's the top bit, which is the red of the crown. And also, also if you're doing Royal Navy ships or English merchant, British merchant ships, the Union Jack is not symmetrical. It's symmetrical fore to aft, but it is not symmetrical top to bottom, as you can see there. So I'm going to get one of the bigger ones. The bigger ones. Okay, and actually there isn't that much. They're not much bigger. So we might demonstrate here. What you want now is, that's the right way up. So you want the, you see the way there's a thick bit of white and a thin bit of white. It's not symmetric. Do you know what I'll do is, I'm actually just going to put a picture up in the video of the Union Jack up the right way and the wrong way, because it'll be too hard showing you on that. And I'll throw that up there. So you can see there is a subtle difference of the flag. Okay, so the best thing to do with this is, once we get it on, is we will have a bit of red and we'll apply a little bit of paint onto the top, and that will cover up any little misdemeanors. So you can see here along the commissioning pennant there, I've done that, and obviously need a little bit of yellow, and I've done it here. The other thing I've also done, which works really well, and we'll show this on the video there later when we come back to the flags, is I put a bit of wash in there just to give an extra bit of shadow, and that comes out really well. More complicated flags would be harder to do. So for this, I'm actually, for what I used for the Spanish ones, I didn't use red. I used this Casandor yellow from GW. You can see this is a really old pot. Normally I don't prefer like GW paints, although I will say they're terrible pot design. In these ones they're actually handy, because you only need a tiny bit of, and this is what I use for the Spanish bit of flag, you only need a tiny bit of paint, so you can just dip your brush in and get a little tiny edge off and use hardly any of it. I much prefer Vallejo paints. Or Army Painter as well are very good. I like them. Okay, so getting back to the flags, so just to talk about the flags in general, and I'll throw some pictures up as well on the side of it. You have, as I said, 3 main flags. And I just take my Spanish fur straight back here. So the one down aft, the biggest flag that will be flown, is known as the Ensign. Nowadays we tend to have the Ensign and the steaming Ensign, because we move the position of the flag. So this would have been traditionally flown from the back part of the ship down aft. You have the Jack, which is up front here. You can't really see the little crest on there, so by accident, and someone had spotted it on the Facebook page. I had actually put up the Merchant Jack for the Spanish Navy, which was my fault, and someone kindly pointed out, so I've changed that one now to the Military Jack. And then the top one, this one, is a Pennant. And it's called a Pennant because a pennant is a tapered flag, and this is known as the commissioning pennant. Not all navies are the same. Different navies use different flags. Generally speaking, as a good rule, and then we'll come to the exceptions, the national flag is typically the Ensign. Okay, and this is the flag that is flown when the ship is underway between sunrise and sunset. We modify sunrise and sunset these days, and we have also morning and evening colours. Colours are when you decide to have the flag going up and down at a different time to sunrise and sunset. Colours will never be after or before sunrise or sunset, so you're not going to be having the flag up in the middle of the night. But on early sunrises you would tend to have morning colours, and then you would have evening colours. So the flag, this flag, will be flown at all times, whether the ship is underway. What we use nowadays is we use a smaller flag, and different navies will place it in different places, but we will use a smaller flag up, usually in this part of the ship on the mast, not higher than the commissioning pennant. And we tend to call that the steaming pennant now, and it's a smaller flag. To be honest, these were huge flags, and they get tattered, they get destroyed at the speeds ships move nowadays. So this is the Ensign. So that's sunrise to sunset, at all times it goes up. The Jack up on the front, and the Jack is the symbol that you're a warship. So the Jacks, most countries have a special flag. I'll pop some of them up there for the Jack, and it's different because they're national flags usually, and then a special naval jack. And some countries have a jack that, and most countries will only have a naval jack, which only navies, militaries can fly. Now, I'll come back to the commissioning pennant in a minute, and I just want to, while we're here, talk about the exception. So, this flag, flag of Great Britain, or UK, is known as the Union Jack. And may or may not know the term, Jack is in there. And that's because the UK use this flag as their national flag, but it actually is their Jack. So this is the Naval Jack. So this is flown on UK ships where other countries would fly their Jack, and you can see the Spanish one is using their Spanish flag. You can't really see the crest, but it is there. They're using that flag as their Naval Jack, and that is why on the sheet of cards you get this one without the crest, which is the Merchant Jack, as it were. So the English fly the Union Jack as their national flag, and naval ships will fly this up the front. And that then into the problem of, well, what do they fly down aft? They don't fly the national flag down aft, i.e. the Union Jack forward and aft. They fly a special flag, one of special flags. And I just dropped me sheets that have the UK ones on it. Okay, and that's why you have all these other ones here. And there are more in reality than this. And some countries fly their war flag, and there's a lot of, it is a bit of a minefield of it. And if you want to get into a really bad argument at your local club, you can sort of start putting flags upside down and the wrong flags. Okay, so this here, on their third rate, which because their first rate is up here. So this flag, right, which you can't see, this flag here, the white one, with the Union, with this George's Cross, that's the George's Cross, and then the Union Jack in the corner, is their main ensign that they will fly for, and it's the British White Ensign, and it is flown by only naval ships will fly that one, and submarines and base installations. So like if you have a Martello Tower off the coast, you could actually fly one of these. So this is the one for your naval ships. This is your ensign for the naval ships. So this is flown down aft. And then this flag here, the one with the red one, signifies that the ship is a merchant ship. So this will be flown down aft. Most of the countries, it's going to be your national flag. There are a few exceptions. The biggest, the most notable one we'll be playing in this game is the Royal Navy. Of course, the great thing about Black Seas is you don't have to stick to any of these rules per se. You can actually make up your own ones, and I'm in the process of doing my own sheet. When I get it done, I'll put up a link as a template, and you can pop in these. Or all I did was I scanned it one-to-one, and I'm just photoshopping my own colours over it. Some flags, if you're going with tricolours, obviously will work better than others that you can use for your template. So you could, if you plan on doing tricolours, you can use the French flags that come in the set here. And the great thing is it's only cards, slide cards, so you can print them out. So right, I said I'd come back to the commissioning pennant. So the commissioning pennant it's of much lesser, it's not lesser importance, but it is of, in the olden days, this was the real symbol that you were a naval warship. And it was a huge flag. As I said, a tapered flag is called a pennant. So, and it was flown from the highest point of the ship at all times. So the, as I said, the ensign is flown from sunrise to sunset or morning to evening colours at all times. Oh, I never mentioned the Jack. The Jack isn't. The Jack is typically, nowadays, and I can't speak for the age of sail, the Jack is only flown nowadays when the ship is alongside, so it's at anchor or it's alongside in port. And again, only between sunrise and sunset. And when the first line goes ashore, the Jack goes up. So if you ever see a Navy ship coming in and you're looking at it, just when the first line goes ashore to tie up the ship, ropes are called lines, sorry, on the ships. When the first line goes ashore, they will put up the Jack. And when the last line leaves the quay wall, so when the ship is leaving, or if the anchor has been hoisted as it comes out of the water, the Jack will be struck, i.e. taken down. So just keep an eye out for that. So the Jack is now only flown sunrise to sunset when you're alongside or at anchor in a port. Or anchor anywhere, alongside the port. Okay, the commissioning ensign is very strange from a flag, from that point of view. The commissioning ensign is flown at all times the ship is commissioned. So if the ship is decommissioned for some reason or other, fine. The ensign, commissioning pennant is strictly speaking taken down. But for nearly all purposes, this flag is flown 24 hours a day. So it's the commissioning pennant, and this is to symbolize that the ship is a warship. So commissions are, for those who don't know, officers get a commission from their president or their head of their military, whether they're king or queen or whatever, and you get a commission, and that is basically your you have been given the powers of your office by your leader. The ship technically doesn't have a commission of their own. They're using the captain's commission, but to show that the commission is on board, that this is a commissioned warship, they will fly a commissioning pennant, and you'll still see it in modern days. I'll throw up some pictures there. They're much smaller, way much smaller than these things were. But in these times of old, this was the real symbol, that your ship was a man of war, that you were a warship, you weren't a privateer. So from that point of view, it's a very, very important flag. And it still is an important flag. The jacks, yeah, just going back to the jacks, different navies fly different jacks. You can have a jack if you're a head of state, you're president. The navy or navies may have different jacks to say they're on board, and there's loads of other flags that, you know, if the flag officer's on board, there might be another flag that's flown, the Commodore's Bourgie. So there's loads of different flags. They give you in the sheet here, they give you some extra flags here. And they give you the numerics, and they give you smaller ones. And there's also flags called the sub, and the first sub, and the second sub. And there's also, these are numbered. There's also alphanumerics flags. There's, you know, like Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. Those flags on their own mean certain things. Like flag Delta is divers, means divers operating in the water beside you. So, you know, you have to be careful. The flag Bravo means you're discharging or taking on dangerous, flammable, like you're fueling or you're taking on or off ammunition. There's a load of them. There's other ones that trawlers would use, that you're in, two trawlers are engaged in pair trawling. So there's loads of different flags on their own. So all these flags will have a meaning on their own. If they're flown in a certain way, there's flag India, which is you're coming alongside, and depending on which side it's your starboard to or port to. So there's loads of different meanings. But as well as the unique meaning for the flags also form part of the alphabet. So in theory, you can spell out any message. But flags would be hoisted in certain combinations to indicate to other ships that they're doing a certain maneuver. Most navies to this day, still on their annual exercises, will do a bit of flag work, and that several of the ships will work together as a team, and they will indicate their intentions by flags. So it's still something it's practiced quite a lot by militaries. It's a bit of a historic flavour that we like doing things a bit conservative in that regard. But flags are important, and there's a whole load of different meaning to different combinations of flags. Again, you can use them on your ship as a bit of decoration, or if you're doing a scenario on it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to doing these flags now, and I have my Spanish one that I've turned around. And yeah, and just be careful when you're doing it, is that you don't put the flag on upside down. That's a problem if you're doing it directly on the ship. On it, then you get yourselves into all sorts of problems. So I put a little bit on both sides actually. It's really the edges we want to make sure we're getting. And I lost my bit of thread that I had there, so I'm just going to cut a bit. These, in fairness now to bolt action, they give you a lot of thread. So once you end up with a couple of these boxes, you'll have more spools of thread, then you'll know what to do with. So don't spare the thread. Okay. I'm just going to slightly wet this just to get it away. Of course, this is going to go all pear-shaped as I'm trying to do this on camera. So again, we're going to fold over and pull my thread to the back. And I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and we'll come into shaping the flag, which is what we'll do next. Okay, see you in a moment. Okay, so I've let the flag dry a little bit there, and I'm going to put a tiny bit of paint on it. So this brush has been wet, tiny tip, and just run it along the edge here. I'm doing this the reverse way now, so get it on camera. Okay, and likewise here. You can see there's quite a bit of white showing. So we'll just go with the colours there, and tidy that up. Just taper out the old magic finger. Okay, so I've left it where it's going to be a bit of yellow, so I need a bit of yellow paint there. And for yellow. You'll really get away with any yellow, to be honest, but I am going to use this reddy sort of yellow. Again, a GW1. It's just not a bad base coat for yellow, and it has a bit of red in it. So again, with my brush, tiny bit is all that's required. Let's just start with like a bit of edge highlighting, and it will dry quite quickly because it's on paper, so you don't really get the amount of time with it. But we're going to be bending that there now. Okay, so that just takes off the raw look of the white paint or paper that you usually get with it. Okay, so unfortunately I never unpaused it for the last bit of this, so I've bent this flag and I've just put on a little bit of shade there. It's quite hard to see anyway on camera, so I used that shade. Now, just to show you all I did to bend the flag. So the flag is going to be stiff along where it would be on a staff or even on the line itself. So keeping that one straight after you've glued the flag, it's just a matter of getting a brush and just bending it like that. You can't really see here anyway, that's all you missed. So then you end up with a nice gentle curve in the flag like that, and then just where the curve is in here, you put a little bit of shade. On a flag like this, which is multicolored, you'll probably use something like Separina or sepia type of a shade, or an agraxy one, and then just on the reverse where this is going to get the light, so you put the shade down in this corner, just in the same way it's on the sails. Okay, that's all you missed, and that's the Spanish one, which just now needs to be attached to the ship. Okay, thanks for watching. Be good.